Storytime with Dutch Mantell, episode 130. Christ on a bike, Dutch. That was over an hour. So I don't even know what happened. Your headphones weren't working, and then your camera wasn't working. You've had to draft in the National Guard to help you sort of get everything set. What went wrong?
Don't ask me. I was the absolute pits on internet, and that I don't know what I'm doing. Now, he willingly and knowingly entered into this agreement knowing that he had to be the brains behind it. Now, when it's actually proven to him, after many, many months, that what I'm saying is true, he actually threatened me by offering to fly over here to the U.S. and kill me.
Yeah, but I'd record it at least for the podcast. At least it'd be a finale.
At least it's on record now, so we can pull this up. And so, folks, if I disappear, I want you to check out James because he has done it. Okay.
Right, okay then, let's do the intro very, very quickly. Facebook WSI Network, of course, my YouTube channel's James Romero. There's also the Stevie Richards Show. There's a new one coming soon. Dutch's books, he's got 2 books, The World According to Dutch and Tales from a Dirt Road. And if you want them unsigned, you can go to Amazon, links in the description. If you want them signed, you can go to dirtydutchmantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. Make your request there for signed merchandise, not only books, but WCW trading cards and caps as well. And one more email is questions4dutch@gmail.com. If you want to write into the show, submit a question for our weekly Ask Dutch Anything episodes every single Sunday. Dutch, after all that is the one intro I've done where I didn't flub any of my lines.
See? I got you good and loosened up.
Apparently so. I've nearly lapsed into a coma at one point. I think your daughter looked at me and he went, he's lost all sense of humour. And I was like, you couldn't have been more on the ball there. Oh, goodness me. Right, okay. Because, once again, it's been a nightmare. I used to go through this with Don Morocco every single week, but I don't think he ever hit the 1 hour mark. Let me just say that. Right, so.
Now, wait a minute. I got to defend myself here. Maybe all of it wasn't my fault.
No,
maybe
I agree with you there. I think the headphones are weird. I think your headphones, they're the headphones that came with the microphone.
And who sent me the headphones?
Yeah, that piece of... Well, yeah, the headphones, in fairness, I did send you replacement headphones for those, but they've gone missing.
You never sent me replacement.
No, I'll tell you what I did. I sent you headphones with the microphone, but then you used the ones from the pack-in. Like, basically, because it was like the microphone came with a pack with the stand and a pair of headphones that were like $10, I think, extra. So anyway, I'll send you some better headphones. I promise you I'll do that. And okay. A USB splitter as well.
All right. Hey, I am fired up, ready to go.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised you're fired up.
Well, that should have put me to sleep because it always does. Anything with the with the computer and the internet, I'm going because I know nothing about it, so it bores me, to tell you the truth.
Well, yeah, me too. I'll tell you that for nothing. Right, okay, let's go straight to the news then for this week. And we're going to be talking about Swerve Strickland, AEW, I nearly said Dynamite, Dynasty finish, pay-per-view this past weekend. Okay, you saw the finish, so you just tell us what happened.
Well, what was the question with it? I mean, Swerve had him beat, the referee was knocked down, and then... we came in. Who came in and knocked out Swerve?
It was no less than the Young Bucks.
Oh, the Young Bucks. And now, actually, you said the people booed it?
I think for a couple of seconds, they were like, woo, the Young Bucks are back for after 6 months away. And then they go, straight off the bat because they're attacking Swerve and Jon Moxley gets away with it again kind of thing.
Well, actually, now I think that does open up a lot for the company because now they have different people and a different scenario. And we can see if Moxley wants to go with them or not, which is another angle and that's what everybody's thinking. Is he with them? Because he didn't leave with them, did he?
I don't think so. I think the pay-per-view ended. We'll be getting to more about Swerve in a minute. But I think the point is that everyone's long since sick of the Death Riders and Jon Moxley as champion. It just seems to be an experiment that has just never worked in the...
And they've been together for how long?
8 months or something like that.
Yeah, if they're not clicking by now, I mean, they should have clicked after a month.
Yeah.
They should have clicked from the first week. But, well, maybe he listened to me and I said they need to tell stories and take his time. Well, he's taking his time, but the story somehow hasn't been laid out properly, or maybe people not even interested in the story. Tell me who the Death Group is. What are they called? The Death Riders?
The Death Riders. So it's Jon Moxley, your former boy Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli, Take a Shitter, as you call him, and Pac, who's the former Adrian Neville. Here's the thing. Is that it's sort of like, I think, an NWO type thing. We're taking over and we're the anti-establishment. We want to take over the company. That's what Jon Moxley said. And then in the intervening 8 months, they've shown absolutely no impetus to actually take over the company or tackle the hierarchy or anything. And this is where it comes in the worst, because Young Bucks have returned after 6 months. Nobody missed them, in fairness. I don't even think diehard AEW fans missed the Young Bucks. And then for some reason, they seem to be attacking Swerve on behalf of Jon Moxley. And the Young Bucks are, in real life and in storyline, AEW executives. So now everyone's just sort of standing there, like, wouldn't it make sense for the Young Bucks to go against the Death Riders? And now everyone's just like, ugh, more. That's basically it.
Well, I think possibly your idea has merit, because if they own I guess this is what I'm assuming, that they own a part of that company, and now Jon Moxley wants to take it over.
Yeah, but that's not been said in the storyline whatsoever. That's the thing. That's not been mentioned.
Well, I'm as confused as everybody else.
I've got a booking question for you. I've got a booking question for you, Dutch.
So, okay, but they could go this way.
Okay.
Since he wants to go in, they're already in. So now they could be, but that doesn't pop to you. It needs to pop to you within the first 30 seconds of thinking about it. But I don't know where they're going to go, so I don't know.
So, okay, right. So you're back in Puerto Rico. You're booking. How long would it take for you? Let's say whoever your champion was. And I understand in Puerto Rico, you know, you wouldn't be the heavyweight champion for 2 years or something like that, you know.
Yep.
But how long would you give somebody holding that belt until you thought that it just wasn't clicking and then you'd switch it up? I mean, would you exercise patience or would you switch it up quite quickly?
You can't exercise patience in Puerto Rico. Because actually, when 1 week goes by and they're having trouble paying their bills and paying the talent, that means they're operating off this week's gross. And they won't give you much time to get it up. And I would say, if I really believed in a guy and I could feel the crowd, if he goes to do an interview or he goes to the ring and they're standing up, that means he has room to grow. And the crowd may not be may not be a good crowd when I first do it. But if the people that are there are really, loud and boisterous, I say, okay, there's something here. So I'm listening. I want the people to tell me, not me tell them. Let them tell me, then I follow what they have given me. So, but I won't give it long. If I'm getting a wrong signal, I'll know in less than 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll change it.
Do you think that the wrestling companies AEW, WWE exclusively have too much money so they can afford to make too many mistakes like this without changing course? Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, when you got billions, you can afford to make mistakes. And so if you're the only thing that's going to get them off their ass, if that the people they're drawing to the matches, it just crashes, or the TV stations or networks start bitching. And when they start bitching, you better do something, because they're getting ready to cancel your ass out, or wait till the contract's up and offer you about half the money that you were getting. and then you've already been spoiled by getting this good money, and now they say go half. You don't want to do that. But it's nobody's fault other than the booker and the boss, or who owns the company, which would be Tony Khan. So, but let's see. But at least he has changed it up. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here. He has changed it up, and let's see where he goes from here. Now, this is what I've heard about Tony: that if you offer him advice, he says he doesn't need it. I mean, in a friendly way, or I got it, or I got this. So even if you, and I'm sure people have heard us say, hey, if you got an idea, take it to Tony. But he may not be willing to listen to it. I've ran into that a lot of times. I say, hey, I got an idea. And they'd say, oh, we don't need it. We got it planned out. Kind of like insulting in a way, really. But I've heard that a lot of times. And I say, hey, if you got it, you got it. So I just walk off. What am I going to do? So, but I have had them listen to it. I'd make them listen to it sometimes. And whether they use it or not, they kind of liked it, because you could tell it by giving it to them. Their stance would change, or their mood would change. And if they came back, the best thing I got off of it is it's not a bad idea. Okay. And they used some of them, and some of them they didn't.
I'm going to give you one more quote from Tony Khan. You love the press scrums, the media scrums afterwards.
Yep.
The most pointless things in all of wrestling, I think. But anyway, here's the quote, or a very small portion of the quote. From the very beginning of AEW, the Young Bucks have been instrumental in the launch of this company. They are the founding fathers of this company. To see them come back this way, and really for the Young Bucks to get involved and break up what could have been a great moment for the fans, that is consistent with the kind of character we've seen from the Young Bucks in recent years. So he continues like this, right? And he doesn't actually explain why the Young Bucks did anything. He just sort of just repeated what had happened on TV, basically. What are you reaching for? Is someone giving you a drink?
No.
Oh, okay then. All I was doing was just reading that and looking out the corner of my eye and seeing you reach through the camera.
Oh, I thought you just put the camera on yourself then.
Oh, I did, but I'm just saying that. All I was doing was just looking up and down. There you go. Right. So, more interesting, I guess, for us is Booker T versus Swerve Strickland.
That's all he said. They have been instrumental in the launch of this company.
He says constantly. That's one paragraph out of about 5 that he said, and all I was thinking is why even have this press conference if not only are you not going to give us any extra information about the Young Bucks' interference or their motives, but all you're doing is recapping what we just saw on television.
Now,
in a kayfabe way.
The key to this is the Young Bucks doing an interview in which they describe why they helped out Moxley.
Mm-hmm.
And let an interviewer just press them on it. So, wait a minute, why did you help out Jon Moxley? What has he got that you guys could use, or would help you, or would it help him? It's got to be beneficial to both sides. Throw it at them and let them come up with something. That's the key to this thing working. And accuse them of working with Tony Khan. So we have heard that since you were instrumental in this company starting, how close are you to Tony Khan at this point? So at least make an assumption that Tony Khan may have put him up to it. Now, he may not want to do that. See, because I have seen a lot of bookers that didn't want to be a heel, that didn't want to. But I think if you sat down and really thought about this, I think they got the start of a good angle, a good program.
Would you want to see Tony Khan as an on-screen character?
No, but I'm not saying that.
No.
He is just joined in with them, and they do all this talking. And now they can say, we own this company. So when you talk about taking it over, and that's what Jon Moxley's talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Said, you're talking about us. So we can't help what the people think when we go out there. We wanted them to think that, and we wanted Swerve Strickland to think that. So he didn't consider us a threat. But, I mean, there's ways you'd have to spend some time on it, and the Young Bucks couldn't do their interview that they wanted to do. Because I've seen interviews they've done. They're not bad talkers if you give them something to say. But I think before, when I saw them do an interview, they were saying what they wanted to say, which to me, I think kind of missed the point wherever they were in a storyline then. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, a lot of guys don't want to go out, and a lot of guys don't want to be heels. They say they do, but they really don't. And it looks like to me like the brothers don't want to be heels. But they play a heel role. They're actually pretty good at it. So you got to accept that, say, hey, give it to me, I'll do it. And let's see where it goes. Tony needs to call me, is what he needs to do.
He's got your number, I know that.
He does have my number.
Yeah, do you know what? We'll give it a couple of weeks. We'll revisit this, and we'll see what the follow-up is. Because basically, you're just giving them a good follow-up straight there. Now, we're going to be... The first few news items we've got here are all interview or promo based, and the next one is something that I have absolutely no idea that this was bubbling under whatsoever, but apparently now this is the latest feud, and it's Booker T versus Swerve Strickland. So, while many felt that once again the ending of an AEW pay-per-view had a disappointing ending because Jon Moxley, won, Strickland then cuts a promo after the show. Here's the quote. "When I talk about representation, I mean it every single time." I'm going to cut out the swearing. "In 1 year, this kid right here that you supported in the past 12, 13 years, 1 year, 5 main events, pay-per-views. I don't just speak about representation, I go out there and prove the thing. You know right here, chanting Whose House every single day, every single arena, every stadium. I don't care how big it is, I always want to hear you chant Whose House. One last thing, simply for my amusement, F Booker T." Where did that come from?
Oh. Well, I missed what he was actually talking about, really.
Well,
talking about him getting over.
He's talking about representation, so I think being black and black representation in AEW and wrestling, I guess. I don't
got that. To me, you know how much money that draws?
Zero?
Less than zero.
But the thing is, is it just me in this day and age? Does it even matter anymore? I mean, does anyone look at somebody and the color of their skin and push them or de-push them? I don't get it.
Okay, you're familiar with soccer much more than I am.
I am.
What if somebody went out there and started talking about, well, he's starting in my place because he's black? What's that mean? Is it going to sell a ticket? You don't even think about it. You want to watch the game of soccer. And unless this is a personal a vendetta, you like that word? I read it somewhere. A personal vendetta against Booker T, I don't see where it can go. That's just wasted words on a piece of paper or what he said. It doesn't mean, and it's very difficult to talk about it, to tell you the truth. Now, but it is different, a black guy talking to a black guy, but still, I don't see it. It won't draw. If I was Tony Khan, I said, don't ever even bring that up, that representation again. What is Booker's idea of representation?
Well, I'm going to give you, I think, a bit of backstory about it, but apparently Strickland and Booker T had gone back and forth on a previous podcast appearance in the lead up to Dynasty, AEW Dynasty pay-per-view. While appearing on Vlad TV, I think that's a YouTube channel, Strickland stated that Booker T was not treated fairly while in WWE when he appeared in a segment that saw Vince McMahon use a racial slur on TV. For starters, that was a joke. On TV. It was amazing it got onto TV, quite frankly. But anyway, in response, Booker T expressed how disappointed he was with the AEW stars' comments. So here's another quote. This is from Booker T. "I'm not going to even get upset about it. I'm going to give Swerve Strickland a little bit of advice, just a little bit. That advice would be, Don't be talking about something other than the pay-per-view at the end of the night. That's the main event, and the last thing people are going to remember. The last people are going to remember is me, my name being said. I'm sure Tony Khan doesn't appreciate the news, the headline not being what happened at Dynasty with all the matches they're talking about Booker T.
I agree with him. I agree with him 100%. Swerve needs to, my old saying, stay in your lane. He needs to get off that because it will, and it keeps people from actually watching the show. If it's going to be racial, count me out, because I don't want to hear it. Because what does racial have to do with pro wrestling? It doesn't. Anything.
One more quote from Booker T to follow up. You may not hear about a lot of racial issues with Booker T because I handle racial issues firsthand. I opened doors. I broke down barriers for people like Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland would perhaps not even be here if it wasn't for me. I have to apologise for nothing that I've done in the business because I've gone out there and I've literally represented in the ring and out of the ring from day one all the way to this day in 2025. So basically, I mean, Booker T seems to be putting Swerve in his place there, but I don't understand why Swerve's got a big old...
I don't see why. Yeah, I don't see why. I don't see why he has an issue either, because surely they can't be making this into an angle, because it's not going to go. But if they did, Booker T would be the babyface and Swerve would be the heel, which is exactly 100% different than what this match ended up.
Mm-hmm.
Because Swerve ended up as the babyface in this one because of the Bucks screwing him around. The only way they could get this to work is drop the racial shit, have Booker T team up with Swerve against the Bucks and turn on him.
Why not?
Now you may have something. But the best thing to do is leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And I don't know how it got on TV.
Well, no, this was actually after the pay-per-view went off air, but then obviously everyone captures it on their phones and it goes all over, social media.
But you mean Tony Khan, surely he can't like this.
I don't get it. I mean, he really hated when CM Punk did it. I mean, do you remember when CM Punk used to go, after shows on Collision or whatever, and then he'd make fun of the Young Bucks or whoever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And that created a really bad atmosphere very, very quickly.
Wrestling, there's some things you can do in it and some things you can't. But first of all, you should have an immediate dislike to that from the beginning. And I'm not saying just if you just go by the races, white people don't like it, black people don't like it. Because now it's drawing a line of separation. I don't think it works. And matter of fact, it doesn't work. Because you name me somebody who's made a ton of money off the race angle in wrestling, and I'll send you $1,000. But yeah, I don't like to hear it, and it decreases my interest, and I think it decreases most of the fans' interest too.
Now, from one interview, this is the one I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say, because it's Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. You saw it at the time. I sent you the video again to refresh your memory once again. This is the unedited version as well, but for goodness sake. Now, just before we get into that, we need to mention that 2 weeks earlier, Charlotte seemingly... I mean, you said the segment, the face-to-face, head-to-head segment where they're in different rooms.
Yep.
You said it was so bad that you couldn't believe they aired it.
No, it was bad. It was bad, and you felt... Again, they were talking about... I mean, you can go inside. That's one thing. But to go inside to this degree and talk about Charlotte's failed marriages, people don't want to hear that either. And Tiffany is like the baby face in this, but that's heel stuff she's saying. So, and I'm sure there's some women out there who've been married more than once, and they wouldn't want one of their associates bringing that up in an interview that everybody hears. She doesn't want that because to me, it makes everybody, it made me uncomfortable because I don't think that's another thing that doesn't work. So now, since we've started talking on AEW now, they're doing one angle that makes the people not feel good. And now WWE is doing another angle. And I don't see how if I hadn't read more about it, I was thinking WWE would not allow that to be greenlit like it's a go. It wasn't a go. It's them getting mad at each other, which is the worst thing you can do as a talent, because when creative tells you they want it to go one way and you deliberately go another way, I think there's heat on both of them. I really do. Now, Tiffany may have lost her temper a little bit. You can't do that. And they're going to teach her early on that you can't do that. Follow the directions, or we can get somebody else who will. Now, Tiffany's got everything in the world going for her. They're going to give her a big shove. So follow the direction. If somebody tells you're a mechanic, somebody says, go change that tire. And you go out there and you change the spark plugs. They didn't want spark plugs changed. They wanted a tire change, you moron. So, but you can, maybe one time you can say, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. One time you may get away with that. If you do it twice, I think they write you out.
We've got to go through the entire thing. Before we do that, right? As I say, a couple of weeks earlier, they had Charlotte and Tiffany do a head-to-head in different rooms via satellite or whatever, that usual thing. And Charlotte basically started ruining it by talking over Tiffany, and Tiffany seemed to be trying to stay on script, basically.
She did.
And Charlotte wasn't. So why did someone in WWE go, well, that went badly? Do you know what would go really well is if we get both women in the center of the ring in Chicago and do the exact same thing? Who greenlit that?
I don't think that wasn't greenlit. And that's why Tiffany left early, because it was off the rails. So the best thing she can do is that I'm not listening to it and run off, which was probably the best thing she could do at that point. Now, if they're trying to get us to believe that they don't like each other, I think that's accomplished. Yeah, I think they shouldn't have said that. And I don't know. I don't think they can't retrieve it because it's already booked. And we'll see how the match goes.
Which I'm looking forward to.
Two people that don't like each other and saying that thing against instructions, saying those things against what the creative has told you, it makes the other person mad. Now the other person hops in the same lane as the one saying bad stuff about personal stuff and comes back with it. So they may just leave it alone here. I'm interested to see where they go with this. It does get my attention. And now the thing is, did they do this on purpose? I can't believe they did it on purpose. I can't believe it, because to do it on purpose, they would have to actually bring it up and say, do you have any problem with her saying something about your failed marriages? Oh, no. Just say that. I don't think Charlotte Flair would say that, because I wouldn't say that if I'd had a bunch of failed marriages. So I'd say, I would tell them there, we don't need that. And I don't think they do.
Let's go through the entire thing, because there's so much to pick up on. The first thing is why are they wearing like the exact same outfit?
So, I said the same thing. I didn't say it, but I thought this. I said, they're both wearing black. Why are they doing this? Now, what do you think that means? You think they knew what each other? Why didn't creative say something about that?
I've got a theory. Is because they really do hate each other and don't talk to each other beforehand, and then they just turned up with their outfits on and just happened to pick the same thing. That's my theory. I think it was like a genuine accident.
Mm-hmm. But when did they listen? I don't think creative. They were on like in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't open it up or
anything. No. I don't think. But no, yeah, there was somewhere in the middle.
Well, who was in charge of that in WWE Creative? That's one of the first couple of things you learn. Don't wear the same color your opponents wear. So if somebody's trying to, it's like two football teams wearing the same uniform. If you're watching on TV, you said, "Oh, who's Detroit and who's Cincinnati?" Oh, they're in the black, but they're both in black. They don't want you to do that. But I don't think a lot of people. Well, no, I'll take that back. I think a lot of people did say they're wearing the same color. I think, and whether they said it to themselves or just it was a intellectual thought, but I think it crossed people's minds, especially women.
I'm going to skip through a few things here and I'm going to pose you a question. Charlotte is immediately booed by the Chicago crowd, and then she tries to put the crowd over like a babyface. And then she doesn't, and then she does again. So it's a bit weird how she does that. And then Tiffany says Charlotte will never win over the fans. Then Charlotte tries to win over the fans again, but they boo her so loudly that Charlotte legitimately, after like she loses composure after like a minute and a half of trying to say things, and she genuinely, and it seemed like she was doing it on purpose. But then at some point she just gives up and then she goes, Tiffany, you have the last word. To the point where I'm just like, I was thinking Charlotte must realise she's the heel. She's the bad guy. She's the bad girl here. And she's been booed for years. I'm wondering why this rattled her so much. If it did, which I think it did. I mean, well, have you ever been rattled by a crowd response?
Have I ever been rattled?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they weren't there. You got you're talking to a bunch of empty seats, but and I've been there too, as every wrestler has. But she wants to be I think they wanted. Now, creative could have set this up because surely they're not that off the mark on this. She's going to be the heel because of the way she talks, and you can't possibly like Flair the way she talks to the crowd. I mean, she does a heel interview, but if she goes out there and they boo her, now she can act like she's stunned by it, but they may have set that up and may have very well just like she expects to be the babyface, but the crowd don't agree with her. That could be set up, I think.
Do you mean by people in the back saying, "Oh, they're going to love you here. They're going to love you here," and then they shove you out?
I don't think she's in Chicago, first of all. They're a very loud crowd, and they'll let you know whether they like you or not. That's why I used to like working in Chicago and working like anywhere in New York, because the people, they're louder than the people down south. I mean, there's differences between them, but they'll let you know that they don't like you at all. So whether that could be set up, but let's say we don't know. But now they know. There is no more excuses for creative if this goes off the rails again. Because who's in charge of creative? Triple H? So he would have to take responsibility for this one. And now, who's the head writer?
Oh, damn, I don't know. No, it's Road Dogg. I think Road Dogg's back in charge. I think of SmackDown or co-lead. Yeah.
I hope Road Dogg, and Road Dogg saw this, unless he just tried something, and unless maybe Charlotte may have got into his ear and saying, I'm going to be the baby face in this. And he got to believe in her because he knows Charlotte a lot longer than he's known Tiffany. So he's going to kind of trust her, I guess. So if he's the head writer, I think that he might need to rethink this whole angle because it's not working like it is.
Let me give you some other things.
But I'll say one thing, whether it's good or bad, people talk about it.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, no, I'm interested now. I'm interested to see the train wreck that this could be.
You are talking about it, and so...
I wasn't 2 weeks ago. It was no one was interested. Now we're all interested to see how bad it's going to get. But I'm going to give you some more.
But they could have got together in the back and said, "Hey, just Charlotte could say talk about my marriages."
No,
she did. Didn't she do an interview where she cried?
Yeah, she did. She did a daytime interview with some women's magazine kind of thing, I guess, some interview where she complained about it. But here's the thing then, and I want to give you a couple of things why I think this is absolutely not set up, is that one, Tiffany, this might have been scripted, saying, well, at my age, I'm WWE Women's Champion, and when you were my age, Charlotte, you were drinking alone in your dad's basement, a failed volleyball player. Now, which well could have been scripted, but then there's something else that makes me think this is where it really fell off the rails, is that Tiffany was trying to say, you're Queen of the Ring, blah blah blah, and then the punchline was going to be, you ain't queen of shit, right? And she actually says that, but then Charlotte, when she's saying that line, starts going me Tiffany, and starts doing a ridiculous voice, and it completely kills the punchline. You know, the go home line. So that wasn't scripted. No way.
No, that wasn't. I don't think. But look, how much wrestling have you watched in your life?
Enough.
A lot.
More than enough.
Enough. So we're both out here, and I'm saying that if I had been there, and if I had heard that live, I would say, "Whoa, did they go off the rails, or did they plan it that way?" Actually, WWE has me exactly where they want the fans to be.
Mm-hmm.
Did they really do that, or did they not? But what they did, they accomplished one thing. They got the people talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they have done that. So hell, now you got me interested in it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what is going to happen. Well, I've got more to give you. So obviously your 0-3 marriages, but she says that while backpedaling and then drops the microphone and goes woo and then leaves. Yeah. Where Charlotte actually starts advancing and Wade Barrett actually starts walking forward to sort of break them up before Tiffany's just already scarpered. And then Charlotte, who's only got like a second or two to think of something witty to say, she basically goes, "Kaiser's in my DMs." And I don't know how many people... Right, okay, so in real life, Tiffany Stratton and Ludwig Kaiser are an item.
Yeah.
They're I don't know if they're engaged or whatever, but they're an item. But the thing is, most people don't know that who are in the crowd.
Hey,
I knew that, and I'd forgot.
I knew that.
Oh, there you go.
And I didn't forget. But see, DMs in your...
Instagram, I guess, or wherever.
DMs... That to me doesn't mean anything to the average fan, because they wouldn't know that and don't give a crap.
And also, no one believed her. So basically, that just struck me as something that was just a bit of a last second thing. Here's the thing with Charlotte, is that she's like Batista. She's in the position Batista was 10 years ago. Batista had been gone for a while, and then apparently he went bankrupt and had to come back to WWE to get a payday. And then he immediately waltzes back in, he wins the Royal Rumble, and immediately the fans resented him for it. And then now the same thing seems to be happening with Charlotte. She was gone for a year, she immediately wins the Royal Rumble, now she's got a WrestleMania, not a main event, but a big payday coming and everything, and people resent her for it. And, with good cause, maybe, I don't know. But I think the other thing with Charlotte or Ashley, is... Unlike her dad, Ric Flair, Charlotte doesn't make the most out of her opponents. She's basically, if her opponent can't keep up with her, she lets them flounder. Whereas Ric Flair would try and make a star out of anybody he wrestled. Mm-hmm. And the other point I wanted to make was with Charlotte is that ever since she debuted in like 2016 or whenever it was on the main roster, they keep giving her world titles. So eventually the story is, can she get more world titles than Ric Flair? And it's so transparently manufactured. And I don't think that many people care about it.
I don't either, not that. Because they're already doing that with Cena.
Yeah.
See, so you got two things talking about Flair. He's actually the base of it. And somebody did ask me a question, do you think Flair will show up in the Cena and the Cody match? Well, if he was there, why wouldn't he show up in his daughter's match? He could show up twice. But anyway, it's just a thought. I think that would be the wrong thing to do. And they got me where they got me thinking. And I think they have all the fans thinking. I think this would be it's going to be a very successful pay-per-view because they got Cody and Cena. And I'm interested in that. Now I'm interested in the girls. And a few more things I'm probably interested in if I could think about them.
Yeah, I'm going to make you watch it as well. Here's one more before we move on. Have you ever booked two people to work together who absolutely hated each other? And if you did, how did you
most wrestlers don't hate each other, but more wrestlers have, let me say,
distrust
or contempt for some or for someone else. Yeah, most wrestlers know whoever they're wrestling is their competition. So I don't think most wrestlers being buddy. They could be buddy if they're on the same side, but going against each other, I don't think. I think there's always that feeling of, hey, if I put him over too strong, he's going to get over like a bastard and end up taking my job. So there is that feeling. Plus, even if you don't even have that, there are some wrestlers who just don't like each other, period. Because you don't like everybody in your life, and whoever you're wrestling with, they're in your life because you have to work with them. Doesn't mean you got to like them or even like working with them, but you have to do it. And you got to do a credible job. I think letting that interfere with the job that you do is the wrong thing too.
I'm sure you had to a million times where you had to finesse people's egos and, let's just get along out there and get over it and just deal with it.
Yeah, I never did that.
No, you just told them, do it off.
Yeah, I told them, I said, God damn it, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to beat your ass and you're going to lay there 1, 2, 3 for me, and you're going to lay there and you're going to sell what I've done to you while I parade around the ring. Like it or not. And if you don't like it, when you come back to the dressing room, I'll just beat you up again.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy with the broomstick you attacked?
Who?
Who was the guy with the broomstick?
I don't know.
Oh, it was. I remember asking you ages ago. It was your one locker room fight, and it was when you were a rookie still.
Oh yeah. Roberto something. Yeah, he's a Puerto Rican guy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a broomstick; it was a mop handle.
Excuse me.
Because a mop handle is thicker than a broomstick. Yeah. And what's the name? I can't remember his last name. Roberto Soto. Yeah.
There you go. Very good. Right, we're going to move on. Kevin Owens needs neck surgery. So I'm going to give you a couple of quotes from this. So I know for a fact, this is from Kevin, there's a specific moment the injury occurred. Because in December I did a full body MRI just on my own for curiosity, just to see if there's anything I should be aware of. You can see if you have issues with your bone structure or organs or anything like that. Mm-hmm. At the time the report came back that my knees were shot, let's say, but I've been well aware of that for a long time, so there's no concern there. And there was something about my spine, mild to moderate stenosis. He goes to the WWE doctors and said all wrestlers have got that. In fact, quite a lot of people in general have got that. So ultimately you're fine. But then in January, once again to the quote, I had a match, and in the match I had two things happen that really jarred my neck, and that's when the issue started. So I knew there was something. And then we ended up doing an MRI this week and found out that it's serious. So I think that match in January is what did it, because I had the MRI the month before that and everything looked fine. Further comments: when the WWE doctor called to tell me about it, I was so shocked because I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't expect it to be so wrong that you can't even do WrestleMania. I thought, yeah, we'll take care of it after WrestleMania, and then basically he said, no, you need surgery now. And I think that he's actually having surgery today as we record this. Kevin Owens' neck injury, and what did you also think of also coming out of character, basically? He's one of the hottest heels in the company, and then he comes out, he's out of character. He's just Kevin Steen and says he's going to be away for a long time.
Well, I'm sure this is a shoot. But I was thinking, what if it wasn't a shoot? What if he just said, I got to have surgery right away just to get out of the match? And all of a sudden, at the end of it, Kevin Owens comes in that ring and beats the living with a mop handle, since he's hurt it already, beats the hell out of Orton with a stick in his hand. So he was lying. Now, what do people hate more than a no good son of a bitch? Is a lying no good bastard. So, but I think it's a shoot because I've never seen that done before. But again, I think WWE is thinking out of the box. I think this would still be the wrong thing to do. And I think he does need back surgery.
Neck.
Stenosis is, I have stenosis too. It's nothing to play with because your disc are they're just ground down. They're grinding down the older you get, and no need to put them through a lot of stress wrestling every night because, you won't be able to sustain that. So, but now the question goes, and this is your next question, I'm sure, who will take the place of Kevin Steen? Mm-hmm. A lot of people have proffered, it's my new word, that it would be, who's the general manager? What's
Nick
his name?
Aldis.
But I don't think it would be him.
Why not? Because, because he took the RKO, so do you not see it?
Well, no, I don't see it.
Okay.
But I think if he went out there and he was going to face him himself, I think he's unproven, is what I'm saying. The fans, they know him as the general manager, most of them. They don't know him really as a wrestler, which he is, and a very good one, I might add. But for him to go out there and compete with Randy Orton at this time is not I don't think we'll see him, but I will think they need to give Orton a major win here. And I think whoever's taking Aldis's place, or not Aldis's place, but filling Kevin Owens' place, has to be fairly credible because Randy needs to build up his resume a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because now he would be a tremendous opponent for Cody. Saying that they keep Cody after WrestleMania. And there's a lot of talk about that too. Will he come out the champion? And we'll talk about that a little later. So don't go away, fans. Don't go to the refrigerator, get a beer and sit down because you'll miss something. But do you think it'll be Aldis?
I don't know who else it would be. That's the thing. I mean, who else could it be? I think pretty much everyone else is spoken for the most part. Is Jacob Fatu spoken for? But as you say, you'd want Randy Orton to win.
Oh yeah, he's got to win.
But then you couldn't beat Jacob because he's
also
being built for the main event. So who else could it be?
Well, I don't have a roster in front of me. Oh, he don't have to be a main eventer, I'm saying.
Chick Donovan.
Yeah. Hey, the Mulkey brothers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Wait a minute. 2 against 1. The Mulkey brothers versus Randy Orton.
Oh, Mulkey brothers all the way.
Oh, totally. But I don't think it's going to be Aldis, but I think it will be somebody with a little bit of a track record behind them. And they have I don't even think they have a really 50-50 match. I think Orton just dominates from the beginning. and gives a guy a couple of spots, and then all of a sudden he beats him. Now he says, he's still waiting on Randy. He's waiting on Kevin Owens. And they may just be trying to get some time out of this to see if Kevin can come back, but he won't be ready in a month. He won't be ready in 3 months, maybe 6. It could be we'll never see him again. I hope not, but because he was getting a little bit of attention on him.
Did you also see the video I sent at you of Kevin Owens was walking back towards the entrance, and a fan says something to him? What did the fan say?
Something about the S word. I can't say that. I've already said it one time.
Yeah, basically to say you're still shit or whatever he said, basically. And then Kevin Owens turns around and gets into it.
Well, that wasn't supposed to be recorded. That was on a fan. That was on a fan's cam. But sometimes you turn around and you answer individual fans, something like that. But
so, I mean, what would you do in that situation? I mean, would you do that, or would you mostly ignore people? Because I imagine you'd be mostly jaw-jacking with everybody.
I was a talker. I would go out there and I say, you say one more word, I'm going to yank you out of there, and I'm going to beat the living crap out of you. Yeah, man. That gets the fist up. Come on, I dare you. I said, oh, boy. Oh, but damn. Yeah, I would, nothing wrong with him answering. Yeah. But see, to me, that proves to the fans, of course, only 10 of them heard him probably, and now a lot more since they put this little bit of tape out on him. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as long as WWE doesn't put it out, and you put it out, just on an individual thread, that's okay.
Next up, your former feuding, Jack Swagger's former enemy and your enemy as well, Rusev. He's re-signed, or we think he's re-signed with WWE. He was spotted outside WWE HQ last week, and it's been reported that the Bulgarian Brutes will be returning to WWE in the near future. And I was trying to think, sort of almost like with AEW when he went over there. I mean, at least initially he was presented as an absolute killer, won nearly all of his matches, but he never really seemed to ascend beyond a certain plateau. He plateaued where he was. Now I'm wondering, well, what's he going to do in WWE? What would be the best use of Rusev now?
This is the best time for them to bring Rusev back.
Yeah.
Because Russia's a big player now. They're talking about Putin. If I brought him back, I would bring him back as almost a full-throated Russian. And he gets out there and it's like the Germans used to be. They were our enemy. Or what you never did see? You never did see Vietnamese heels. You never saw that because they were too little. They were like midgets, but I think this would be the time for them to bring Rusev back, fully embracing the Russian heritage he's had. And I think people will get mad about that. I really do.
Do you think that, I mean, we've noticed it the last couple of weeks with Chad Gable, and obviously he's meant to be a bad guy character who's a bit goofy and he's doing the luchador thing, but he's called El Grande Americano and he's got the American flag on his mask and everything. He's getting cheers already.
Yeah.
And I think, in 2025, then, there definitely could be another US versus Russia kind of thing.
Why would you boo an American? He's out there and he actually, is he a heel?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they won't let him be. I've seen that lots of times. One thing I've learned is don't fight the fans. The more you fight them, the more they'll see what you're doing, and the more you fight them, the more they'll go against you, the booker, the creative team. And I've seen that a lot of times.
Who would you get to go against Rusev then to generate interest? Who would be a good all-American opponent who's available?
Cody would be the top one. That's where he's shooting for. Because all Rusev's got to say is he can go out and he's sick and tired of Cody. If he's the product of Americanism, he wants to show. And they'd have to alter this a little bit, but he's proud to be a Russian. Now, they may not want to do this, but I think it's a natural, which is what me and Swagger, we never went America versus Russia. We did, but they didn't want to stay with it. I don't think they wanted to go that far with it because it's a political statement, and they may not even today want to go that far with it. But I think the time is right now, the climate, and it's not anti-Russian in the country right now, but Russia's anti-American. And now with Putin there, and he has a little bit of connection, or has a lot of connection with Trump, but now Trump's kind of got off of him now. So I think they could go that route and be successful with it. Because Rusev has an underlying factor that the other heels don't have. The closest one to it is Gunther, who has a European background, but he didn't have all that animosity behind it like the Russians have against the Americans down deep. Now, we do put Russian cosmonauts with the American astronauts up in space. We do that, and they work together that way. But I think this is a different horse, and I think he'd be very successful doing that.
What do you think a fight would look like on the International Space Station? Like really slow, like
yeah. You throw something, and the American looking at the Russian like, and just waiting and go, whoop, miss me.
Why can't you book that, Dutch?
Oh, we
book
could.
Anti-gravity wrestling match, Rusev versus Cody.
That would be good. I would, brother. If they booked a weightless wrestling match, I'd have to watch it. And I think a lot of other people would too. Just see what they do.
Apparently, Lana, CJ Perry, Rusev's real-life wife, who obviously played his manager in WWE and briefly in AEW and against him as well, was not spotted at WWE HQ, and the word is that WWE are not thinking of bringing Lana back. And I sort of think, well, if she wants to come back, I think they're more than the sum of their parts are greater than them individually, I think. And I mean, how good is Rusev without Alana, basically?
Well, they never give him a chance. It's what I'm thinking. But to bring her back, she's not a wrestler, although she did train to do it. But I don't see that she would help him that much. I really don't. She could, but I think Rusev by himself would be enough. Because if she comes, she's a manager and she doesn't fit in with the actual wrestleress girls, doesn't fit in with them. So I don't know. I think whether she's with him or whether she's not, I don't think she would be the key to getting it over. I think Rusev is the key. And the political climate today.
Next up, back to SmackDown again. Rey Fenix finally makes his debut on WWE SmackDown. What do you think of Rey Fenix's debut ultimately? Because we saw Penta a couple of months ago, went absolutely fantastically, and he's still getting wins and still in good standing with the company, and he's going to have a match at WrestleMania. But what do you think of Rey Fenix, his younger brother, and his debut against is it Nathan Frazier, I think?
Oh, it was a good match. It was a great match. But I'm saying if they want to get this guy over, they got to put him over just a little bit. It was more like a 50-50 match, which he struggled to win, which is okay. But if you got plans for this guy, and Frazier wasn't a bad opponent. They could do a lot of stuff. Frazier missed the dive through the ropes a little bit, but that's okay. That could be nerves. That could be anything. But they listed, did they list who's his brother now? You say
Penta.
Penta. What do they list his weight as? They list his weight?
I can find out for you. I think they list his height as like 6 foot. So he's probably.
And what's his weight? But they did list 182 or 172 or something.
I'm just looking that up now. So his build weight is. No, he's 40 years old, Penta, as well. I guess that's the virtue of having a mass. You can't tell. Build height 5'11", build weight 207.
That's build weight, but they built him on TV as 182, I think. But it was okay. What I would like to see, and I told somebody this, I may have told you, instead of if you're going to use a guy good, you put him over strong. Well, they didn't put him over strong. But what if Frazier had beat this guy? And Frazier's good. He's as surprised as he can be. And then he starts a social media campaign like, I beat Penta, and they won't sign me, but they signed him. What's the deal? Mm-hmm. And I think you'd have a lot of people reacting to that because he said they put him out there because they thought he could beat me, and I beat him. So now I threw all their plans into disarray. So, but yeah, he is good. He's very good. His brother's very good too. So,
do us one bit in the match, right? No, I'm sorry.
No, a lot of people say, well, if you're going to, just what I said, a lot of people say, well, if you're going to use Phoenix, you need to put him over stronger. Well, you can, but you can't. I mean, I don't think that's a necessarily an ABC of booking. And we're going to talk about Kevin Nash a little bit later, talking about size.
Mm-hmm.
But is Frazier, is he in the NEX?
NXT
next?
Fraxium. He is part of a tag team of, yeah. Here's the thing, actually, with Nathan Frazier as well, is that he kicked out of a fire driver from Rey Fenix. And I watched that move, and it looked amazing. And even the commentators said, there we go, it's over. But they seemed like genuinely like, yeah, it's done. And then Nathan kicked out of it, and then eventually got pinned by a move that looked 10 times worse. Yeah. So like, someone needs to have a word with Rey Fenix and say, dude, that part, the fire drive, whatever it is, looks way better.
First of all, the agent should have made sure that he didn't do that. That's the agent's job. They are going to, when they sit down and you give them like an hour, guys, you can do this, do your best moves, this, that, and the other. But when he come up with his finish, I'm going to hit him with that, and he's going to kick out. The agent should have said, no, he doesn't kick out of that. We're conditioning the people to watch this. When you hit it, it's the end. So, but that's as much Phoenix's fault as anybody. He should have known this. I'm sure he's heard this, but you don't waste your finish on something that somebody's going to kick out of. Because if they see it and it's not a finisher, next time you do it, they're not going to find. If you got to, it's like anything else. You're doing a magic act here. And when they see that finisher, well, that's it. I've seen people, when guys hit their finishers, they're already getting up to go to the concession stand or something. But yeah, I'm not going to blame I'm going to blame the agent for this more, but I'm going to blame Phoenix too, because you should know that before you get that. They had a good match, and now I'm unfamiliar with Phoenix. He calls it the fire driver. Mm-hmm. Is that what he calls it?
Yeah, the one that Nathan kicked out of. Yeah. Well,
I think he knows it by now, but I think even fans know that because we've heard that so much, and fans have heard that so much. And why hasn't Rey Fenix heard that? Rey Fenix, I came up with that name in Puerto Rico.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I used it in Puerto Rico 20 years ago.
He was Rey Fenix when you know
Rey Gonzalez. We put him under the hood, and we called him Phoenix. And his name is Rey Gonzalez. I said, why don't we call him Rey Fenix. And Rey said, why don't we call him R-E-Y Phoenix? Because I think that means king.
Mm-hmm.
King, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he told me, unless he was telling me something wrong. And he was already over. He really got over with that. And then I let him go about 3 months with the top heel manager, Savio Vega. And when I turned them against each other, it was magic. Because that Savio had so much heat. Oh my God. And Rey was so over. I mean, I've sold out stadiums with them. And it was just regular wrestling. They didn't do anything special. They just had a match and the people would come to see it. That's why I like booking Puerto Rico. You didn't have to do anything really, really extraordinary. Just tell a good story and they'd be there.
I don't think you have to in the States either. I think there's a lot of overcomplicating, quite frankly.
Well, I think they want guys to go out there. You do put a strong match always in your first match because you want to get them there. That first match, you want it to be like a bomb going off, man. They're doing all their moves because you're conditioning that crowd for the rest of the night. And so if you don't put a slow match on first and then follow it by a fast match, put your fast match on first, then follow it by your slower matches. And then you work your way up to your main event. And that's the way you do it.
Okay, this is more of a conceptual question, I guess, for a debuting wrestler. So,
conceptual.
Here's a poser for you, Dutch. Let's say you've got a wrestler coming in like Rey Fenix, maybe a more spectacular high flyer like Rey Fenix. Do you tell him to do all of his best stuff in the first match, or do you tell him to not do most of it and then reveal it over the weeks?
No, I would tell him not to do all of it.
Really?
I said, don't let us see all of it the first week. Because the second, and I say, take you 4 moves and I'm going to put you on TV for 4 weeks and kind of unveil. Now, once you've used it in the first match, you can use it in the second match. But use something in the second match that we hadn't seen in the first one, the third one, and the fourth one. But make your finisher the same in every one of them. So that's what I tell him.
Next up, you very prescient when you mentioned Kevin Nash, and this is what we're going to talk about. 2 things, actually, that he's going to mention.
Prescient. What's that mean?
Prescient. I think, I don't know, it's like fortuitous or, almost like you realised it was coming up in the near future and you predicted it. Yeah. Maybe.
I looked that word up and I can't remember
I'm very much someone
prescient, is on the spot. It's, I don't know. Look it up.
I'll look it up. I'm going to look it up now. One sec. Okay, so prescient means having or showing knowledge of events before they take place. See, I can use words in sentences, but don't try and get me to define them. I was near enough, though, with what I said.
And prescient means predictions.
Yeah, having or showing knowledge of events before they take place. So basically, you're correctly predicting. As you correctly predicted beforehand, when you mentioned Kevin Nash, which you said you were going to talk about soon, and yes, we are. So there are 2 things he brings up, and one I very much agree with him with. One, we'll see what happens. He complained about Iyo Sky, who's currently the Raw WWE Women's Champion. She's going to be going to WWE WrestleMania 41, triple threat match with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. But here is what Kevin Nash said about Iyo Sky. It's not believable that she, Ripley, can lose. She's just physically bigger, stronger. I think it's bull. Nash said, I heard a distinct moan from the Buffalo crowd. I know Sky's a sweetheart. She works her ass off. It's a great moment for her. I'm happy for her. It's just storyline-wise, it wasn't what I was looking for. So, Kevin Nash isn't a fan of Iyo Sky purely because Rhea Ripley is so much more imposing and dominating. But you watched that match.
I did.
This morning. What do you think of Iyo Sky's performance? Did you think it was believable? Did you think the fans bought it or didn't buy it? What are your opinions?
Yeah, but how did she win?
You tell me.
What happened right before she won? Because Belair. Didn't she had drop kicked Ripley a time or two, but they told a story in there that really she didn't lose because the other girl took advantage of something and the referee threw it both out. So she didn't get pinned. It was just a no DQ. So if you go by the finish, yeah, you could say that could happen. Now, when you look deeper into it, who is against who on WrestleMania?
There's a triple threat match: Rhea, Bianca, Iyo.
And I hate triple threat matches.
Oh, we're gonna get to that in a second. This bloody WrestleMania's full of them.
I just hate that because I'll tell you why I hate it. But anyway, I think that she lost. And you know why she lost or she didn't win, Iyo Sky? Because they're going to crown a new champion at WrestleMania. That's what they're going to do. They're going to give them a title change at WrestleMania. And I think it goes to Ripley. She hasn't held it, right?
Yeah, she was the champion for basically the last year until Liv Morgan took it. Liv Morgan won it. I think Rhea Ripley was injured for a while and Liv Morgan was the champion for the majority of 2024. But before then, I think Rhea had it for about a year.
Okay. That's how much I know. But I think they just want a title change at WrestleMania. And I think that prediction kind of fits in. And it doesn't matter whether they put it on the girl or Ripley or Belair, because I think Ripley will be the baby face, and I think they want to try to see how Belair does as a heel. It's just a test run. That's my prediction. But I think the match was very, very good. And now I think Kevin saw a difference in size. Well, on TV, you can't really tell the difference in size that much. You can, but they got to be standing right beside each other. Plus, a lot of great heels work over the years, worked with a lot of baby faces much bigger than them. Take the Sheik, the original Sheik. He always worked with guys bigger than him. But he was just a no good bastard, if you will. And there's a lot of heels that weren't big guys, but the fans just hated them. So anyway, I didn't hate this match. I actually, the contrary, I love this match because I'm watching and all of a sudden they're doing these moves and they were paced correctly. They had time between the spots. It wasn't rush, like you see a lot of guys doing. But this was, to me, one of the better girl matches I've seen. Just seeing that wasn't the whole match I saw, right?
No, I sent you the second half so you could just get an idea of it.
It was good.
Yeah, that being said, Kevin Nash is nearly 7 foot. I mean, he often wrestles people a foot shorter than him.
Yes, he does.
I mean, there's far more of a size discrepancy between he and many of his opponents over the years as well. And here's another example for you. I've asked Sabu more than once, who's your favourite opponent? I mean, all the millions of people he's wrestled, and he goes, Big Show. Easiest person you can wrestle, because you can tell the story. So I don't know where Kevin Nash is coming from this, not only from his own point of view, surely. I mean,
we used to hear that all the time. Look how bigger he is than the guy. It doesn't matter really if you kind of do, you put over the guy's size. You just can't go over there and outpower him, and you're stronger than him. They did show that at the end. I think Iyo, is that her name? Iyo?
Yeah, Sky, yeah.
Iyo, she tried to do something. She couldn't do it. But the other girl, the bigger girl, I can't remember their names.
I know.
She could do it. So they kind of put that over. But to me, I'm just going by the finish, and the finish was Belair and Ripley. See, I remember their names there. They were at each other, and so there it is. Now we got the three-way built, and that was a pretty good match to build that.
Prescient that you mentioned, there's the word again. Dutch triple threat matches, three-way matches, whatever it is. Here's another quote from Kevin Nash. And I'm so glad he said this, and I'm going to cut out the swearing. Triple threat matches all suck. If they do a three-way, I just won't even watch it. There's no way you can do anything different. I've been in 10,000 of them. They all suck. They got to do a double down, pick up the guy. That's what you do. Three people can't do spots together. Now, I'm so glad he said that, because I hate triple threat matches. And they're even more formulaic than tag team matches, for the most part.
Well, a tag team match is much better, because you have a focal point in a tag match. You just take the babyface and just start him on a sell job and beat the living crap out of him and not let him tag. And then all of a sudden go there and punch his partner. The partner comes in, you just take him and just double team him for a second till the referee's about to look around, hop out, act like you've done nothing. And that's been done since the start of time. And you can change that up if you want to, but the false tags when he makes the tag, but no, the other guy comes in and referee draws and he makes the tag and then he put the other guy out. I mean, that is a formula that will still work today. But three ways, that means one person has to be down and out. So if you're 33% of the time, you don't have that person doing nothing. So, and I don't know the three-way spots they could do anyway. There's only so many, and you'd have to use them in the finish. Yeah, three-way spots do not interest me at all. So unless you get the interest, you don't get the payoff on it.
Yeah, for triple threat matches, it's always one-on-one, and then the third person's knocked out of the ring, and then they're just out for 2 minutes, and then someone trades places, then it's one-on-one again. Or you have really contrived three-way spots, as you say, which have to be planned out, to death.
Or what I said, when I tried it one time, it kind of worked. I was the heel. I was in there with two baby faces. I'd just get out of the ring. And I would make them wrestle each other. And referee give me a count, I'd get in. And finally they would start wrestling, and I would come in and just make myself just a little bastard. And then they both got me and threw me in. And now they said, now we're going to get you. So they were going to try to tag me out. Then they was fighting over who was going to pin me. But that at least has a little bit of structure to it. The other part, and you just can't put, and I don't know how many three ways that Belair and Ripley and Iyo Sky have had. Iyo probably has had more than they have, because she's from Japan. What group is she from in Japan?
Oh, I don't know. She's been over for a while, though. Stardom or whatever it is.
Oh, Star or something.
Stardom? Yeah, I can't remember what the other, Marigold or something like that. I don't know.
But she's probably had more experience in a three-way than those girls. Now, if I was an agent in WWE and they give me a three-way, I wouldn't bitch about it, and I'd try to make the most of it. But my best work is not done with a three-way. I want to have a point of focus, and it's hard to get a point of focus in a three-way unless they just know what they're doing. The agent is just saying, hey, come up with it, and I'll okay it or not. So if I okay it and they go out there and they have a bomb, I said, well, I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them to do that. I don't know where that comes from. Then they say something bad. I said, hey, I'd rather you get fired than me get fired.
Can you think of any other match I've written one down. Match stipulations that just never work out, pretty much, and you would just be happy to never see them again.
Oh, give me one.
Iron Man matches. Because they either last half an hour or an hour, and I hate the fact that I know when it's going to end. And then it always goes to, it's a draw until the last 30 seconds. It's really, there's only really one way you could do it. And they've been done to death. And they're never that good.
There's a lot of matches that I hate. You'd have to name them for me. one time, Vince Russo, I got to bring him up. He booked a cage match, and which is okay. Then he got to thinking, and Vince is his own worst enemy sometimes because he said, no way, man. Maybe the cage won't do it. Tell you what, let's put a barbed wire on the top. I said, what? Wait a minute, aren't you trying to get out of the ring? And now I'm figuring out how they're going to do this. And then I forgot we did another stipulation of guys, other wrestlers outside the ring. And I said, I don't know how they're going to do this.
I know what you're thinking. Really the reverse battle royal where they all had to get in the ring.
I never got that at all. How are you going to keep somebody from getting in the ring?
Did you watch it? I watched it not too long ago.
I was there.
I know that. I
was there.
Watching and catering, but like they're all fighting on outside the ring, pretending they can't get in.
Yeah. That's why I was in catering. And I was like this. I was like taking a bite of a sandwich and go turning around and, oh God. And even the people there, they're saying, oh, get in the ring, please. Now, I don't know if that was fans, but I know one person that's not. It wasn't me because I just don't I don't like those matches. But one thing I say about the TNA guys, when you gave them something kind of straight up and simple that you could tell a story, give it to them, let them do all this stuff that they're going to do. That's what TNA was noted for. And let them figure it out. AJ Styles was one of the best. Give it to him. He put all those moves in there. And a lot of guys were very, very good in that lightweight division they had.
Next up, Chris Jericho won't rule out a WWE return. So Jericho said when he was asked by someone somewhere, I don't know, I would have considered a return to WWE before things changed. Once again, there are two teams you can play on, which is amazing, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to take a chance and go to AEW in the first place. It was a real gamble. Of course, I would consider going back there to WWE. I would also consider not going back there too. It just depends on what the situation is and what's going on with me at the time. Now, we won't spend too long on this, but Jericho, he started in AEW as their world champion. I think he was their first world champion. And then the last couple of years, he's basically getting chanted at by the fans saying, please retire.
Yeah,
we hate you. And basically, at least for the AEW faithful, Jericho is now persona non grata. And then he ended up becoming the learning tree, being, overly bearingly nice and stuff like that, and he's been doing that for, I hate to say that's because I really liked that when he did that, but now that's sort of run its course as well. And I don't know, how much can Jericho do in AEW before, what's the old saying, Dutch, go away, learn a new hold and change companies or whatever, and basically you've got a fresh coat of paint on you.
Well, let me say one thing about Jericho. Jericho, at one time, one of the best. But I think, and like it all does, time passes us by. And Jericho used to actually get in the ring and say, guys, this is how it's done. But I think, how old is Jericho now?
He's 53 or something like that.
Okay, he's 53, and he doesn't actually he doesn't work anymore. He doesn't work anywhere unless he works on TV and maybe some of the house shows AEW. And I haven't seen his name on any of the house shows. And he says, I would consider going back to WWE. But I think he would consider going back if the money was presented to him. And we'll pay you this to come back. And if it was more than AEW would give him, I think he would consider it. I don't think, and he likes to act like he really enjoys doing this, and he probably does, but his body doesn't. He's to the point now his body can't take that night after night after night. And WWE doesn't do night after night anyway. They might do 3 days a week and TV.
Not even that.
Well,
they don't even do house shows anymore, pretty much. Neither does AEW. Every wrestler in these companies are part-time now compared to what you were doing even as Zeb Coulter.
Well, we were busting our ass. Some days we'd go 6 days a week then. So, and I wasn't even in the ring, and it was wearing my butt out. So I think Jericho has seen his day. Now he either becomes an agent or he helps out with the booking or something like that. Then I think there's a spot for him. But otherwise, as far as in-ring, returning to the in-ring stuff, I don't see it. And I see if he does come back, he'd have to do something really extraordinary, and it's only for a short run. Because I think that by the time you hit 45, and that's stretching it, when you hit 45, I think, your in-ring work is about over. Because, the other guys are in their mid-20s. Of course they can move better and faster and better, and they look better. So, but competing there is, you can't win that race.
I mean, there are a number of people who, actually in their 50s and still can go. I mean, like Adam Copeland, I'm sure he's lost half a step and everything, but he still looks really good, still moves very well when he's not breaking his leg and that kind of thing. But I don't think 50, the barrier in WWF used to be 35, and now the barrier is not even 50 anymore. People know how to look after themselves far better. They're wrestling less, in AEW, WWE now. There's a lot more longevity. They can get a lot more. AJ Styles is pushing 50. He looks amazing, phenomenal, if you want to say.
And he still moves, but he is like an anomaly. He's an exception to the rule because, but if you notice AJ, he has great timing, and he's not doing a boom, de boom, de boom, de boom. Of course, when you get older, that's where that style developed. And when you get older, you can't do it. So you have to do something to make it work. Now, I'm saying Jericho can do that, but Jericho's not a big guy. He's like 5'10", 5'11". He might weigh, and he's gotten heavier.
I was going to say he weighs considerably more now than in his
That's what I'm
heyday,
saying.
yeah.
So, and his interviews are good. I was never a huge fan of his interviews, but his interviews are good. I'm not saying they're not, but they're good. But I think he's trying to replicate his earlier days, which I think is damn near impossible to wrestle it.
So your contention is maybe hang it up, or if you can go to WWE, do something short term, and before the bloomers off the rose, retire.
That's what I would say. You put it better than I did. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on. We've got a few more things to say.
Now he'll come out. He said, "What's that Dutch saying about me? That fat bastard." He's saying he could say that. Then we could start a war. Then we get a lot more hits. See,
maybe we should start a war with Booker T as well.
We've already started one, and it did good. It did, yeah, it did good because he would answer us. You don't remember that?
Okay, well, we need to start another one where I remember it.
We say, "Hey, Booker T, we agree with Swerve." But hey, we'd have to take a whole deal about taking Booker T off this podcast because I agreed with him. But I do agree with him on the race thing. No, they don't draw a dime.
Absolutely. Right. Mick Foley, car accident. You saw the photo.
Yep. He is lucky. He is one lucky man. Because I've seen a lot of accidents, not that look that bad, and people got killed. And he probably missed death, but this far. Maybe something missed his head, missed his knee, missed his chest. So, but he didn't get hurt and is actually going back on the road. So congratulations to him. But where was he when he had this accident? In Tennessee.
I don't think he wrote down where he was. I can try and find it out for you. But, I mean, how many wrestlers have had car accidents? I mean, like, Mick is on the road constantly still, and I think he's nearly 60 if he's not 60. And is he pushing himself too far? I mean, who knows? He didn't even say how the accident happened, whether it was his fault or somebody else's.
He's on the road for what? He does a comedy tour.
Yes.
And he does that. But that's not like being on the road as a wrestler either, because being on the road, if the way we used to run it, we would get in town say we get in town at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, you got to check in and go to your room. And for the guys who wanted to work out, they'd have to get up about 9 o'clock, go to the gym, run back, get out of the room by 12 and go to the other town. Say it could be 200 miles away. And you'd get there about 4 and you could check in, and then you go and you stay the whole night at the arena, and you come out and you do it all over again. That was day after day after day. And even though if you're flying, you still got to go to the airport, check in. It's still time. But you hadn't really, even on a WWE schedule, you didn't have a lot of time to yourself. You might have had a couple hours, 3 hours, and they would spend that at the gym. Me, however, I spent it like this. I was stressed out telling, don't knock on my door until it's time to knock on my door, and I'll be expecting you. But yeah, Mick is very, very lucky, and I'm glad he did not get hurt.
Severely, anyway. Yeah, I mean, he had bad knees and a bit of a concussion and a sore neck and everything, but that could have been so much worse.
Well, I'm afraid, like, for his neck, head, and his back, because that's a 3,000 pound or maybe more piece of equipment you're riding in, colliding with another one. So did anybody else get hurt in the other car? Do you know?
Don't know. There's very little information out there on it. I'm looking at the photo now, and there is a massive hole in the windscreen in the driver's side.
Can you show that picture?
I can do. Just bear with me 1 second. Where's his Facebook? Here we go. There we go. Yeah, pretty impressive damage.
Ooh. Barry, is that on screen now?
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. It's kind of small, but man, what went through that windshield?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because it looked like it went in from the outside. I mean, it's not like his head has gone in.
Well, something went in through there, and how much did that miss him? Plus, look at the hood is torn off, and everything is just disarranged or just mutilated in that engine. So he is very, very lucky. So, and you look at Mick there, he would fill that car up. So he didn't have a lot of room that it didn't touch him at all. So very lucky, and I'm glad he escaped that without harm. Oh my God! Look at that.
Man. Oh, the wheels come off as well.
Wow. So he hit another car, or another car hit him?
Well, there seems to be a truck behind, so I'm wondering if... let's look at the first photo, if it was... No, it wasn't. Maybe it was driving past. But I don't know. Maybe he could have just fallen asleep behind the wheel, for all I know, or someone cut him up. Who knows? But it looks like he's hit the central barrier.
Yep. He hit something right in the center of that car.
Moving. And once again, I think he's getting a full body scan as well. But yeah, once again, he says he's going to be making all of his dates as well. Dutch, I've got a question to ask you.
Well, making a comedy tour is a lot different than making a wrestling date.
It certainly is. I'm wondering this about Mick, and I don't know if I'm just sort of cribbing ideas from the Shawshank Redemption of being institutionalized, but I mean, he's 60 or thereabouts, and I'm just wondering, why is he putting himself through, why is he putting his body through all that travel? Because travel wears you out. I mean, you know this far more than I do, even if you're not wrestling. Why is he still doing it? I mean, is he just like institutionalized to be on the road, and what's going on?
What do you mean institutionalized?
I mean, he doesn't feel right unless he's on the road constantly. Like
Possibly.
If you're institutionalized, like if you're in prison and then you become to rely on it and you can't function in reality, basically.
Well, that prison term I served, I didn't feel that way. No, but that could possibly be a reason he wants to be on the road. But it also might be because he's doing his comedy tour, so he's not damaging his body. So he just got a divorce too, didn't he?
Did he?
That's what I read.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, look it up.
Okay, pausing. Okay, this is from The Sportster. And apparently he said on his podcast, he being Rene Dupree, that Mick and Colette Foley are separated, and neither of them have commented on this one way or another. So it's merely a rumour coming from, of all people, Rene Dupree.
So do you know him?
Never spoke to Rene, no. Stevie is
so
good friends with him.
Are we back on air?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Sorry, we started recording ages ago. So there you go. So that's what it is. Apparently, it's just merely a rumour that Mick nor Colette have addressed publicly.
Well, if he was divorced or getting a divorce, she may have cleaned out the bank account. Said, "What? Are you going with me?" And that isn't unheard of. And all the money that Mick's made, that would be quite a chunk, I would think. Mm-hmm. And he may be, and I don't know what he gets for these comedy appearances, but I'm sure it's up into thousands of dollars. I'm pretty sure. Plus, he would sell his gimmicks there, so he could have some $10,000 nights, I would think. So he may want to go, and while he can still go and collect this money. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard his comedy routine?
Never, no.
Really?
No, have you?
No, never have. But comedy means funny. I wonder, is it funny or is it just...
Maybe it's like spoken word kind of thing with some humour thrown in. Maybe it's not specifically comedy that he would describe it as. It's like, have you ever heard of Undertaker's One Dead Man tour?
Yeah, but he's not funny.
No.
He's not funny, and he just tells stories, I'm sure. Because, Undertaker was never one to tell funny stories or even funny jokes, really.
Wouldn't it be funny if The Undertaker came out and says, "How about that food on Southwest Airlines, Waka Waka?" And he actually starts doing a stand-up.
Oh, yeah. Talking about comedy and wrestling, are we going to talk about this? What's your name, Tony?
Next episode, that's on Ask Dutch Anything. We'll get to that this Sunday. Okay.
I love that.
Right, okay. Couple more things, and then we're done with this show. Inducting WWE matches into the WWE Hall of Fame. So the WWE Hall of Fame was introduced, I guess, in '93 for a few years, then went away for nearly a decade. Now, since 2004, it happens every single year. But this is the very, very first time that a match has been an induction to the WWE Hall of Fame, and it is Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, WWF WrestleMania 13. WWE basically says that this is the greatest match in WrestleMania history. I kind of agree. I think it's a big statement, but I don't think they're wrong on that. What do you think of WWE inducting matches now?
It's not hitting me like, oh man, that's a sure hit. But they would have enough of them, I'm sure. But a lot of times you're going to be putting the same guy back in there. See what I mean? Because one guy has a great match. I'm sure that Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage would be all up in that thing. Because Savage had some tremendous matches. And so did Steamboat. And Ric Flair. He would have some great matches. But after you run through the top, say, 20 or 10 matches, you're going to have the same guy unless they limit the number of Hall of Fame matches. But I don't see anything wrong with it, but I don't know how they're going to judge that, because I think they are going to be putting the same guy back in the match. He was great with this guy, and he was great with this guy, and yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. I'll tell you one guy we won't see in that Hall of Fame great match. George Goulas. He wrote me one time, said, I don't know why, and he speaks with a lisp too. I don't know why you talk about me like that. It's not funny to me. And, I said, oh, George, I didn't even write him back. I said, oh, George, sorry, man, if I hurt your feelings. But well, I would say try it. You don't know till you try it, so try it and see how well it works.
Well, you bring up a very good point there, because you're just basically going to be inducting the same people and over and over and over again. You're going to be inducting your Shawn Michaels and your Bret Harts and your Steve Austins and your Kurt Angles and your probably Triple H's or whoever they deem has had the great, and your Savages and etc. So all it is if they do end up getting a ring, then Bret Hart is now the first person to be inducted into the Hall of Fame 3 times. One solo, one with the Hart Foundation, now one with a match. And then at some point in the next 20 years, he's not going to have enough fingers for how many rings they're going to put on him, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they've got this from UFC, because obviously, WWE and UFC are under the same TKO banner, and UFC has inducted matches for years now, and I think they did that because it also got people in their Hall of Fame that wouldn't necessarily have had a Hall of Fame career. So, I mean, your Stephan Bonners, your Diego Sanchez, your Clay Guidas, your Alexander Gustafsons, those kinds of people who may not get inducted, but it gets them in with a match of the year kind of thing. Whereas, here's a quote from Booker T again. That really is not a Hall of Fame. That's a match. You shouldn't get a ring for that. It's a match. You should get a plaque or something. You don't get a ring for it. What do you think about that?
I agree with him. I don't think you need to get a ring, because take Bret Hart, 3 rings. Is he going to wear them all at one time, or
like Mr.
T?
What?
Yeah, but you're going to have the same people in there, and I don't think you need the. I agree with Booker T here. You don't need a ring. You get a plaque, I guess, or you get some acknowledgement or something. But I would make the Hall of Fame different. You get the ring for it, and if you get it for a match, you get it something to hang on the wall. I don't know.
Let's talk.
Did they get that from UFC?
Well, I don't know if directly inspired by, but I suspect, yeah, because UFC do induct a match every year as well, the most entertaining bout. But once again, with WWE, it's all manufactured to be that best match. It's all leading, within months of build, etc. Whereas UFC, you can just have an absolute sleeper hit anywhere on the card.
Let me ask you this. Would they put a match in from anywhere else other than WWE?
I think eventually they would. Yeah. I mean, so that would be a Ric Flair
WCW?
Yeah. Be a Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat kind of thing. Or,
yep.
I don't know, what are the greatest matches of all time, quality-wise, that you think would get in?
Well, quality-wise, I don't think we even judge it on that. We judge it on the fan response, or if you please the fans and the fans are so happy. But just looking at them having a great match, that's just like moves. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have to have judges for that, I guess. But I think some of the things that, like Cody winning, that's the closest thing I can come to it. After a 2-year struggle while he was hurt too, I think the people said, well, the story is done. It's not done. But now we're happy. Now we got to go out to see if he can defend. So it never ends, and they can only take it so far. What about your Bruno Sammartino? He never had a great ring ethic. He never had a lot of moves, but the fans were just, bloodthirsty for Bruno to win. And I'm saying the passion they had for that one man. And I heard it was, Kevin Solomon told me one time he went to see the Sheik versus Bruno in Boston. Hell, it was like a couple of days before I could understand what he was saying. I thought he was speaking Spanish or something. I could not understand him. I'm way down south, and he's from Boston. But he told me he went to a Sheik match versus Bruno in the garden, he'd say. And he says, you could feel it from the fans. They were so in anticipation of this match. He said it was unbelievable. And I said, how did you, I think maybe he went to the one in the garden in New York, but he traveled from Boston. He said, then I went back and got on the subway. And I said, what? The subway went, I didn't know anything about the North. I said, the subway went all the way to Boston. He said, oh, yeah, it only cost me like $2 to go from Boston to New York and get off a block or two from Madison Square Garden. I said, really? I said, damn, I got it set up there right. But he told me the anticipation of the fans was what he felt the most. And he wanted Bruno to win too. And this is when he was probably a teenager, 15, 16 years old. And that he could, I think he traveled on his own, but he said he wanted to see the match so bad. So I think that's one thing they don't take into account. The greatest matches. What are they judging that on? Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to pick it apart. It's okay with me if they want to put it in there, but it's their deal. But I'm saying, who gets a choice in this? Unless they have but see, most of the fans that want to vote on it would vote. They might vote 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And a lot of people don't remember that. This would make them remember. But I don't know. I think you got a lot of just I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Variables of what you judge a match quality on. Yeah.
And it's judged in a different manner.
We're going to end on this. Bret Hart says wrestlers pretty much are all actors these days. So here is the quote. He was on Ariel Helwani's show, and he says, I try to watch the pay-per-views I find in a lot of wrestlers. I won't name anybody, but I find the wrestlers are more actors pretending to be wrestlers today than actual wrestlers. I miss the ruggedness of the characters, guys like Kurt Hennig, myself, Dynamite Kid, that whole era of wrestlers that broke into the business in the late 70s and early 80s. We were from the Harley Race Terry Funk generation, trying to copy them or mimic them. That's why I think the 90s was the best era. When I watch some of that old 90s wrestling, it was really good stuff. I find that today's wrestling is a little bit more about promos and your character on TV and not so much your work rate. There's that word again, work rate. I like guys that throw back a little bit more to the work rate. Roman Reigns is a guy that tries really hard to earn the respect of my generation and be more realistic and more credible and more believable, not so much of an actor. So he says wrestlers these days, especially in AEW, are merely actors pretending to be wrestlers. What do you think?
That's subjective. I agree with him to an extent. But I think if you want to put actor in there, you got to put stuntman in there too. Because he can't act unless he can do some of the stunts where he looks like he got his head taken off. Or he jumped off the top and missed something, or took a gut shot, or took a clothesline coming off the top. He has a point, but that also goes back to his era, because we didn't, when I broke in, or when Bret broke in, it was more under the old school type style. And of course, WWE can do all this high flying stuff and abuse your body, but they're not going 7 days a week. We used to go 7 days a week. And if somebody come to see me, I used to take a pretty high backdrop. I don't know if people come to see that or not, but, I would take a high one. I've been in some buildings. The light would be so low. The goal that night with some of the high flyers was to see if they could touch that light with their foot. They wanted to go so high they could touch the light. Then the light would be going like this. Whoop, whoop. And they would get back and said, I told you I could touch it. But anyway, you compare in different eras. And I think somebody that can tell a story and sell and do the bumps, I think that's what he's trying to get across. And I agree with him, because you got to convince the fans. You don't got to convince yourself that it hurts, because you can do that real easy. You got to convince the fans that it really shook you up, and you do that by facials. And I guess that's the acting he's talking about, which Bret was never really good at facials at all. Even when he was working his face, really, if you watch him, his face never changed that much. So, and he's talking about taking it back to a different age. I don't know if you can take it back. And you can only have one guy take it back or two guys take it back anyway, because you sell with your face. If you get hit hard, say in the gut, you just can't do this. You got to go, your face tells the story. And Bret, in his case, his face never told that. But I agree with what he's saying with a little bit of a, some prerequisites in there, but he's got a point. But I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
So, not to put words in his mouth, but I sort of read it as the storytelling in the ring is missing compared to acting. They're doing the entrances and doing poses and stuff like that, but the actual storytelling in the ring is lacking more than it once was. And also, I guess people are pretending to be tough guys when, it seems the further back you go in pro wrestling history, the higher likelihood of a pro wrestler being an actual tough guy, exponentially rose as well. So maybe that's what he means. Maybe that he means that basically everyone's a performer and no one's sort of a grizzled, actual tough guy, brought up on the streets or whatever, unless they're, an athlete coming in, I guess. Like a Chad Gable, for example.
Yeah, but see, if you saw Chad Gable walk into a bar or walk into just anywhere, 7-Eleven or something, you would look at him and say, hey, he's not very big. His face doesn't look very tough, not very grizzled. But you can look in guy's face and sometimes say, I don't know if we want to mess with this guy. Just his face tells you that. And he may be the biggest wussy in the world. But if you look at him, you just leave him alone.
Like the Danny Hodge thing.
Yeah, Danny Hodge, he was, when he would walk in, you've heard about his grip, right? I shook hands with him one time and I didn't know it, and he knew I didn't know it. And I said, hi. I introduced myself, and he said, hi, I'm Danny Hodge, pleased to meet you. And he cranked down on that hand. I went, oh, God. He didn't do it much because he had to do it in a friendly way. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. I can't help doing that. And then somebody said, you shook Hodge's hand. I said, well, yeah, what am I supposed to do? But I heard that he could take a guy, his hand strength was so strong. And what did he used to do with a can? He would crush a beer can with it full of beer. He'd pop the top. Hard to believe. And he was about 5'10", maybe 205, maybe. But nobody ever messed with him. But he never caused a problem anyway. But he was like one of the guys that you just didn't mess with. Because if somebody, when I started, and Bret would tell you the same thing, if he came in as a shooter, an old-time shooter, he got a big, pathway. When he walked in, people would get out of his way. Like John Foley, I used to be a tag team with him. Bad to the bone. But if you talk to him, everything was a joke, everything, and he loved to drink, and he was as friendly as hell to somebody wanted to mess with him in the ring, and he just, and there were a few more. I've tested Pat O'Connor. Mm-hmm. I was friends with Pat, even though he was my boss. And I got him down one time, and I said, all right, you old bastard, get out of this. And I was tied up, and he said, as you were saying, and he laughed about it because I was playing around, but I was kidding him, like, get out of this, damn it. But you don't know till you get those guys in there, and they're usually older guys that know what they're doing and know how to just lay you out. So, but I going back to what he said, Bret said, the acting has taken over a little more, I think. Well, maybe, what did he say? It's just what did he say?
Most wrestlers are actors rather than wrestlers these days. I want to ask you something.
But the acting is what made it work. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I got a choice of a guy knocking the shit out of me or acting. And acting is like when he goes to hit you, you go, whoa, and you get out of the way. I did a match like that one time. I was afraid of the guy's punch, and all, you know what we did for the finish?
A punch?
He hit me, and bam, I went down. And now they said, oh, that's what he was getting away from. And I got up and I staggered around and I left. Hey, we're going to talk about Tony Storm on the other.
Yeah, on the other one.
Dutch anything.
Oh, we will. To end it on, if today's era is not the greatest, in your opinion, what was the best era for purely in-ring work?
70s and the 80s. About halfway through the 80s, to WWE came along and WWF came along, and that's when it started to slide. Because what WWE did, WWF did, is they killed all what I call the mom and pops territory. And, you know, used to be a little group would go to a city and they draw, say, 1,000 people. Well, when WWE came along, they draw 300, 400, because who's going to watch just a walk-in, you know, community theater when you got Broadway coming in 2 weeks? You're just not going to do it. So I think Vince killed the very animal he was trying to raise.
I'm going to give you one more quote from Bret, then we're going to shut down the show. I heard something a few months ago where Hulk Hogan was talking about me, and he said the problem with Bret Hart is that he really does think he was the greatest wrestler of all time. I remember thinking about that and going, yeah, maybe. That might be the most truthful thing that Hulk Hogan has ever said. When you watch a lot of the wrestlers today, you don't see anybody imitating Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior. You see a lot of wrestlers of today really trying their best to capture my style, or some of the guys that I work with, like Dynamite Kid or Kurt Hennig or my brother Owen. They're wrestling my style, and that's the biggest compliment I can get from today's generation. Do you think that's fair? Because he's not wrong, is he? I mean, Hulk Hogan was the biggest star of the 80s and 90s and partially of the 2000s maybe as well at times, or one of at least. And nobody imitates him. Which, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think it's a good thing because Hulk, they say he can work. I've never seen him work except maybe a little bit in Japan because he had to. But why work when what you were doing was working anyway? Why do that? Because he was, Hulk Hogan was the killer. Hulk Hogan was the stopper of a big heel wanting to take over, you know, and everything was geared toward Hogan. Like the same formula that they used with Bruno. You know, when Bruno was a champion, I mean, you would aim at this really big tough guy, and they'd aim it at Hogan, and that's where it was going to end up. And of course, they have their limits too. You know, they have their time in the flash pan, and then again, you know, 10 years goes by, and it's got to change. But Bruno held the title the longest, like 8 years straight, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 4 years or something. Yeah,
I don't see how they could do that.
Vern Gagne did that as well. He had the AWA belt for like 5 years or something like that at one point.
And you know what that was caused by?
He was the owner.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear of somebody coming in and getting over. So, and he feared that, well, there could be another group like WWE come in and take all my talent. And they possibly could, because they took a lot of it, but they didn't take his son, though, did they?
Greg, no.
And never took him.
No.
Because he weighed like 190 pounds. Because Vince was a really, really adamant toward the bigger guys, as his father was. But the big guys didn't do nothing. The big guys actually didn't have a lot of personality either. But so he depended on Bruno and maybe 2 matches down below that to draw the crowd. And Bruno did for a long time. But anyway, what am I agreeing with here? What Bret said?
Basically, more people imitate Bret's style than Hogan's style.
I don't know. Because it is more wrestling, right? And you do more stuff. Yeah, I would say that.
I disagree that. I'd say more people imitated Shawn. Did more
Well,
high-flying
I'm saying
stuff.
that. I'm saying it, but yeah, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm not necessarily a Bret. But nobody did the Hogan style because hell, you got to be big and muscled up, and guys didn't do that.
I thought you were going to speak more, so I started yawning. I'm sorry. Oh, what a great time to end this show with me yawning.
Yeah. Oh, you're exciting today, buddy.
No. Well, sorry, it's the end of the show anyway. No, I just started to yawn then. It's like the worst timing ever. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Once again, we're going to be out every single Wednesday from now on with Storytime with Dutch Mantell, and very much important, Ask Dutch Anything on Sundays. That is the current schedule that I think we're going to be keeping because we record this on a Tuesday, and Dutch doesn't like Mondays. He's like Garfield. He hates Mondays. He loves lasagna. That's how it works. Right, so once again, we will see you again on Sunday, all podcast platforms, and of course on YouTube for Ask Dutch Anything, episode 70. Until then, Dutch, we, the people.
The people.
There we go.